Today on the workbench, we're going to tear this VHS-C adapter apart. I had put a tape in there to review because I purchased it used and I wanted to see what was on there. Put it in, everything worked fine, put it in the tape deck, saw that there was nothing on the tape, ejected the cartridge from the VCR, and I went to eject the tape out of the adapter, and that's when the trouble began. Let me put a battery in, and when you eject, this little wing thing here is supposed to fly out, not this one. That's all it does. So we're going to go ahead and tear this apart, and hopefully we'll find out why it's not working properly. So before we get started, I went ahead and removed the battery, and that's something you definitely want to ensure you do. Remove the battery, accidental shorts. We have a bunch of screws along the basin. I'm really not sure what all comes out. Screwdriver you're going to need is a tip PH00, and I know looking up under the hood here that this screw will go to that roller, and we have a screw right here that goes to that roller. I believe probably will not remove those, but I'm not sure, because even though they're in the neighborhood, I'm really not sure. The rollers just might be set in to the slots and would be okay to tear that apart. Let's go ahead and get started. I went ahead and removed all 8 screws, and so let's see if we could open this guy up. Yep. And just as soon as I did, that thing flung out. A lot of mechanical parts in here. I was afraid that if we get in here and goof up, it could be fun putting this back together. So all I'm going to do, since that tab is out, is I'm going to just put it all back together. And let's see what happens. Maybe that just got into a bind. Oops. Oops. Wow. So much for my idea of just putting it back together. Now we got to fix it. And I got to tell you, this is really challenging doing this with a camera in your face, unable to really see what it is we're doing. I think the spring just sat in here somewhere. Now I got to figure out where it goes. Thinking something like that. Spring, we have, not sure, there you go. We've got that little hole right there, which I would imagine the long end of the spring went to. And so now I got to see where the short end of the spring went to. Could have just went into the channel there, and I believe this went over the post. All right, let me look at this off camera. Well, off screen, I was trying to figure out what was going on with this. Thought I lost my spring, but it turned out I set it aside and thought it was totally something different. Put a battery in this. Oh, look, now it's working, sort of. I was able to get the pinch rollers to release some somehow. Still not enough. I got this roller right here, still not releasing. So that's the $50 question. Why this arm is not releasing. Some of these I know are mechanical and not electrical like this, where you have to manually unmount it. I had to move the camera out of my way so you have a different view coming back. It's really challenging to see what I was doing with the camera in my face. So what I found out, reason why this roller dropped for me, was this lever here. I playing around with it, and you can see when I slide this across, that lever drops. So now the $1.58 question is how to get this to move. I would imagine this is all on the same action, but only when I'm moving this bar is that roller moving. I don't see any other mechanical pieces. Oops. I'm afraid that start removing too many items, it'll get to a point where I may not be able to repair it, just fall to pieces. Okay, so that's that one. It appears we have a switch maybe. We put a battery in it, see what that does. Still nothing. Okay. So I want to take it up. I want to retrieve it. So maybe it's a switch that's supposed to stay in the fixed position right there. Let me look at this a little bit more off camera. Okay, I removed this lower arm, and once that happens, I removed this arm and that roller, and when it did that, it released the tape. Pull that arm out, and by doing that, I should be able to retrieve the tape. Oops, that ain't good. More junk just fell out. Might have got above my head on this one. Can't save them all, I reckon. It's a learning experience, if nothing else, right? Well, let's see if it'll come back to life mechanically for us and finish the rest of the job out. No, it's not. That switch on the bottom translates, try to do this so nothing else falls out, translates to the eject switch right here. But that's what that correlates to. However, it's still not ejecting the tape all the way. So let's try to understand the mechanics on this a little bit. What needs to happen, these releases right here, these catches that grab in the door, we need to make that stop, which means that that door's got to, whoops, lost another spring. So that door has to pop open. So that's the switch, the eject switch that's on the bottom. And this door needs to open up to release that. Gee. More parts are falling out. I'll have to review the video to see if I could identify where everything had fallen out. It's almost like that door is jammed, maybe. Yeah, see, look at that. I cannot even open that hatch. Okay, good news. I got my tape out. So that is cool. What I found was this switch here was in a bind or something. It just was not releasing. It don't move too freely. Here's the latch. So once I figured that out, tape popped right out. So I was pushing on the tape from the bottom and the edges were popping out. It just wasn't the center. So alright, so that's the good news. I got the tape out. Now let's try to put this all back together. Before I put it together, I wanted to do a dry run just to make sure everything was working properly. And I noticed that it's not. When you push the switch, it just does not release the door. And so even if you went in here and pushed on it yourself, it still does not release the door. It's a double section. There's two parts. That you got the switch, and then you actually have the part that releases the latch. And that part right there is not sliding over or sliding far enough over. And when you go to close the lid, it does not want to close. So this device still has some issues, unresolved issues. So you see, we got that as far over as it can go, and it will not close. It will not close. Now, the way you can get it to close is come in here, hit that right there, and now it closes. I'm not sure if there's any hope for it. Let me look at it again off screen, see if we're missing a screw, a spring or lubrication or something. Maybe a moot point to put this together. Well, after going through looking at the mechanism, the switch and everything, I come to the conclusion that the device is just tired. It has reached its end of life. I've had that adapter for 20 some odd years, so I think it's lived a nice, long, comfortable life, served its purpose. I have more, so we'll just move on. It was fun and exciting just the same to go through it. Learning experience. First time I've tore one of those apart. I didn't see another video on YouTube in regards to this, so I had no reference point. So this was cool just the same. So I hope you guys had fun. Hope you learned something as well. And this will conclude this video. We will catch up with you in the next video. Until then, be good humans.